Hello, my name's Pete, southernboysflies@gmail.com. I'm going to be tying a cartside gurgler. I met Jack at fishing shows in Marlboro, Mass. back in the late 80s a couple of times. God bless his soul. He did pass away a couple of years ago, but very, very nice gentleman. He's a gentleman that introduced the Gurgler Fly, which basically he was using for stripers in the Boston Bay area. But it's another fly like the deceiver or the clouser. This fly can be used in a myriad of different places and different fish. It's great on schoolie stripers. I've caught tons of blues with it. I've actually caught some bonita on it, but it's great for snook in Florida. You'll also catch redfish with it. It's really, really good. I've used it a few times on a new river in Virginia for smallmouth bass and largemouth bass. So only thing I haven't caught any carp with it yet, but I have been told that carp will hit this fly. But anyway, it's an easy tie fly, and I'm going to tie it. Trying to get introduced to all the fly tying people out there, because there's a million of them now. But I tie all my own flies one at a time. Anybody wants any flies, just get a hold of me. Like I said, at southernboysflies@gmail.com. If you got a specialty fly or something different you want tied, send me a picture, and I'll get back to you and see what you want. But that's the way it is. I'll start with this fly now. I'm going to be using a 34-007 Mustad stainless steel hook fly because it's salt water. And of course I always use the monofilament fly tying thread. They call it thread, but it's actually line. It's very small, very light. I like it because it's very, very smooth and it's very strong. Then you start off with on the fly, like everybody calls it. You watch all these fly videos, they say start off with a jam knot. Well, 20 years ago when I was trying to tie my first fly that I'd never tied before, it said start off with a jam knot, and I had no idea what they were talking about. But a jam knot is nothing more than overwrapping your thread numerous times over the hook, and therefore it won't go anywhere. It's really not a knot. But like it says, the terminology jam, it just means that you are actually jamming the thread on the hook, so I'm hoping it won't come out anymore. I've cut a small half-size pencil of calf tail of chartreuse here. The last few years, just about everything you see out there, you got some guys out there will not throw a fly, or some of them even plugs, unless they have some kind of chartreuse on them. And it's just like Lefty Kerr said one time when I was watching one of his demos. He's never seen anything look like a chartreuse in the water in his life, and he's been all over the world. He did say there was a worm over in East Africa or the Amazon or something that did look like it might have chartreuse on it, but we've never seen them in the States. So anyway, we'll get that done. I do use a lot of glue on my flies, only because number one, I use a lot of them for salt water. Number two, I'll go to the dollar store and I'll get 4 or 5 bottles of hard as nails for $1 a bottle. I'm not pushing hard as nails, I'm just telling you what it is. Because in the tackle shops, even though I'm a firm believer, I don't buy a lot of stuff over the net, because I try to buy all my stuff from local tackle shops and keep them in business, because as I know, and I've been around for a while, all the mom and pop tackle shops are going south because of all the big boys, the Dick's, Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's. I mean, those are great straight stores, don't get me wrong, but it is kind of nice to go into a little tackle shop. There'll be 2 or 3 other guys there shooting the breeze, and you'll learn a lot of stuff, and you can have good camaraderie and have a cup of coffee. But anyway, that we've started that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually tie my foam on. What I've done is I've got my foam and I've cut it, and I've cut the back of this. This foam here I buy from craft stores, or sometimes I actually go to Goodwill and buy stuff. This has a backing on it. a glued backing. You don't have to have that. Sometimes it's better not to because it sticks to itself. But I always take the backing off anyway. Make sure the backing is going to be down and not up. Then we'll go back to the back. Don't go too far back because you don't want to put your calf tail angling down. You want it straight out. You get this, you put this down pretty good. Some guys like to bring the foam all the way down to the end and all the way back. I don't, because then I think it's too light trying to throw, and it doesn't throw as good. So I try to keep it as close to the body as perfect as I can. A lot of times I'll use like a silver stash or a stoss or whatever they call it on the fly, whatever, something's glittery under the bottle. Here what I'm going to try, and I'll show you, I'm going to take a piece of rabbit strip, which is on the orange side, and I'll bring that up front, and I'm just going to palmer that back. And what you could actually use this for is you could use this as a shrimp, because a lot of times the shrimps in the spawning season, their underbellies will be pinkish or reddish because of their egg sacs, or just a different type color to attract the fish. I'll put a little bit more of my glue on there. I'll come around and I'll pull this back as I come back. And I'll come to the forward. I don't want to come too far forward. I'll hold it there. I'll get a hold of the end. Make sure and pull all this back. Pull that up. And I'll snip that off. One thing a lot of guys ask me, especially when they're first fly tying, because one of the fly tying clubs I belonged to one time in Massachusetts, I used to tie a lot, and we'd tie a lot at the shows, and at monthly meetings we'd tie, and you get new people, and the first thing they ask you is like, what's important, what do I go after first, and the first thing I always tell them is don't skimp on scissors. Go out and buy you a really good pair of scissors. And when I say a really good pair of scissors, a really good pair of scissors is going to cost you $20, $25. And once you got a good pair of scissors, then you go from there. Even though I got quite a bit of Lefty Kerr and Bob Clouser's tapes, and I watch them periodically and try to learn from them, there's a lot of this stuff that you can buy in craft stores. It's amazing. I've got 4 or 5 Goodwill stores not too far from here that I frequent a lot, looking for wool, looking for different things. Craft stores, especially when I tie a lot of salt water, I use a lot of eyes, and I was going down and buying all my eyes at the fly shops, and I was paying $4.95 for about 25 doll eyes. And I go to a craft store like a Michael's, and I can get a whole bag of doll eyes for about 99 cents. So it's one thing to be frugal, I'm going to go to my fly shop, guys. I'm going to buy the big stuff. I'm going to buy the $60 fly lines and the leaders and leader materials. But when it comes to stuff like that, I'm going to try to save some money, because just like anything else, I'm retired now on a fixed income, and I need to watch every penny. So anyway, as you can see, that rabbit here, right there, once it gets wet, it's going to give it a little bit of weight, be able to throw it better. I'm not going to trim it all. I'll pull this back, and I'll go underneath this like that. I do have a tool that I use for whip finishing. The only problem is, when I was up in Rhode Island there a couple of months ago, striper fishing, I somehow have misplaced it. So now I have to go do the old finger thing. Anyway, get that real tight. I get some glue here. I'll put me some glue right where the thread ends. Like I say, I kind of liberal on glue, only because if you've been out fishing for stripers and you get into blues, it's nice to catch them, but you don't want to lose a $4 or $5 fly on one blue. Best to come in kind of raggedy. But anyway, that there is a cartside gurgler. That shade right there will probably be good for snook, mango swamps. I'm originally born and raised in Tampa, Florida, so you go down to the Ruskin, you go down there and they'll have all the back bays and stuff, and you can throw these things up on the mango swamps, pull them out. I do when I'm down there. I will, even though I don't like doing it a lot, I will put weedless lines on there. For some reason, weedless flies and myself have never really matched for some reason. Even though I tie them and I put them on, but they've never matched. So anyway, that's a cartside gurgler. You can tie it any size you want. And it's basically not like some of the other flies where you can do this different, do that different. Basically, it's a 4-step fly. You put a tail on it, you put a body on it, you wrap the foam around it. You can go back now and you can put eyes on it. You can put dots with a magic marker, and you can do everything. Basically, I do white, black. I'll do some yellow. Don't do all red for some reason. I just don't have any luck. But it seems like the white and the black is like probably 90% of everything I do. I will do some brown with maybe some squirrel tail on the ends and stuff like that for redfish. Okay? I hope you enjoyed this short video. Again, Pete Colding, southernboysflies@gmail.com. Give me a line if you want me to try to make one of your flies. Very reasonable. I'm retired, not here to make money. I just enjoy fly tying, and it's a hobby. This is not a job. Okay? Tight lines. Bye-bye.